Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Jodie, and each week I share real stories on love, heartbreak, despair, and all the mess in between. And this week we have got some really exciting stories to read from Reddit with updates from husbands thinking that they have feelings for their high school sweethearts to wives who have resorted to catfishing their husbands. So they've got all the drama that we know and love Reddit to be. So stick around. Let's get into the first one. So our first story is titled I, 28 female, found a woman's sock in my house after being away for a week, and my husband lied to me about it. I was away for a week for work. He was off nearly this entire time as he works 1 week on, 1 week off. When I came home, my boyfriend had cleaned the house up quite extensively. Obviously not a crime in itself, but it was surprising and a little out of character. I usually have to do most of the cleaning, so it was unexpected. He'd even picked up some of my laundry that I'd left in the washroom and living room and put it in the basket. I was surprised, but I didn't think much of it. Yeah, that would have my radars going. Definitely, if I came home after being away to a house that had been cleaned top to bottom, I would be lights off, latex gloves, black light out, and I would be inspecting the crime scene because something would have definitely happened. Well, anyway, let's see. He started night shifts the day after I returned, and I was working days, so I came home from work after he'd left. I figured I'd spend some time cleaning the house as he'd done. There's a shop vac that had been sitting just outside our bedroom door for a few weeks that I finally moved to the closet. When I moved it, I found a sock just behind it. A small ankle sock, obviously women's, in a brand I'd never seen before. I had a bad feeling at this point, but I put the sock on the table by my bedside and continued cleaning, intending to ask him about it when he returned from work early in the morning. When I asked him whose sock it was, he said he didn't know. He then said he found it on the stairs and thought it was mine, so he put it there. But I put the sock there. I doubt he'd even seen it around the house, or else it wouldn't have been behind the shop vac. What is a shop vac, by the way? I assume it's some type of vacuum. And if he had seen it and thought it was mine, wouldn't he have put it in the basket with the other clothes that he put away? I told him that I put the sock there and asked him why he lied about putting it there. He said he didn't have anybody over and didn't know whose sock it was. I left and got ready for work and went to sleep. Any advice on how to address this? But I think we've got first side with the house being clean, definitely worrisome. And then saying that he put the sock on the side and immediately jumping to, I haven't had anybody over, when it didn't really sound like you have accused him of having anybody in the house. You just wanted to know where the sock came from. Anyway, so we've got an update on the same day. He woke up. I'm sitting here in my office area doing some work, but also periodically crying and reading the comments here. He came into the room and tried cuddling me from behind. I was obviously stiff and he asked me why I was mad at him. I said that I didn't know why he wasn't honest with me earlier about the sock. He said he didn't lie to me. I said I put the sock there on the table, so he couldn't have. He said that he'd found the sock while cleaning and he'd tossed it aside and then it ended up behind the shop vac. I think that's fair. I mean, I'm sure there's been times when something's, asked me out of the blue and I've said something random like that. So he could have just said something but not necessarily meaning it. However, he then got super mad, saying that I'm accusing him of cheating, swearing around and saying that he's not coming on our trip to my parents' house during the summer, and that he's staying at the house all summer, and that a friend of mine who was supposed to rent the house for work during the summer can't stay there then because he'll be here. Weird that that was the first thing that he jumped to say, oh, you're accusing me of cheating? Well, how about I'm going to stay in the house all summer long alone while you're away? I asked him why he was getting mad and said that I'd been upset and I just needed an explanation and reassurance from him. He continued to lose it. He stormed towards the door and threw his full cup of coffee down the stairs. He grabbed an old baseball bat that we keep by the stairs and started hitting the steps outside the door, yelling that he's not fucking cheating. He threw his lunch that he had packed for work all over the steps and peeled off in his truck. Okay, so I think we can probably forget about the cheating scandal right now, because whether he did or not, I don't think you really want to be laying next to somebody who is unable to contain their rage, because that sounds extremely scary. To have somebody pick up a baseball bat and start hitting things, I mean, glad it was the steps and not yourself, because that is horrific. We have another update. We broke up. As a lot of the comments have said too, it wasn't really about the sock anymore. Maybe I won't ever know what happened while I was away, but the violence in his response was frightening, and I don't want to be with somebody that makes me feel unsafe in my home. It wasn't the first time I've seen him that angry, but it's the first time that he's done something so physical, and I don't want to be involved if it continues to escalate. He's been taking some of his stuff while I've been out of the house, and one of our dogs, which has probably been the saddest. I've been changing the lock code after each time. I have some friends that live nearby, and I've explained the situation to, and they've assured me I can contact them if I ever end up in an unsafe situation. Thank you to everyone that has offered advice, shared their own experiences, or expressed concern for my safety in the comments. There will be a lot of changes in my life upcoming due to this, but I know it's for the best. And it does look like, yes, everybody in the comments was rallying behind her and supporting the decision to leave him. Cheater or not, you don't really want to be with somebody who's that aggressive. I'm glad to hear that you've made it out. Let's go on to our second story. And it is titled, My 27 Female, Husband's 27 Male, First Love, 28 Female contacted him wanting to apologize and reconnect. Should I be concerned? I, 27 female, have been with my husband, 27 male, for almost 8 years, married for 3. Let's call him Liam. Prior to our relationship, Liam was with Danielle, 28 female, also fake name. Liam and Danielle met in high school and were extremely close friends before they decided to start dating. They dated from the end of their senior year of high school to the end of their freshman year of college. There were a lot of firsts for each other, including sex for the first time. According to Liam, Danielle was the first girl he ever truly loved. He did anything for her, including driving over 2.5 hours to and from his college to her college every weekend their freshman year. They went to school in different states, so they could spend time together. Things started to change for them during the later parts of their freshman year of college, after Danielle got heavily involved with a religious group on her campus. According to Liam, she got very manipulative and emotionally abusive. She had these new ideas in her head of who she was wanting him to be and wanting to save him. He tried going to church with her and doing the things she wanted him to do, but eventually led to him becoming confused, upset, and ultimately resentful, which led to them ending things in a crash and burn type of way. Fast forward several months after they break up, Liam meets me. We started casually dating at first since he still had trauma and large amounts of trust issues that remained from his relationship with Danielle. After about 5-ish months, he felt like he was ready for something serious again. 3.5 years later, we're engaged. Another year goes by and we're married. Almost 3 years later, we're here today. Throughout all this time, Liam has not heard from Danielle once. Also during this time, Danielle has met somebody new, gotten married as well, and currently has a young child. Flash to a week and a half ago. Liam and I just moved to a new house closer to our hometowns and posted about the move on social media. After seeing the post, Danielle decided to message Liam, congratulating us on the new place and hoping all is well. Nothing too crazy, but not something that he was expecting. They began briefly conversing about house things, moving, renovations, etc. Liam tells me that she reached out to him, and I find this a bit odd, but nothing to worry about. A couple of days later, Liam sits me down to ask me something and for me to not freak out. I, of course, begin freaking out. I think that even just finding out that, an ex-flame had, out of the blue, decided to text my husband, I would be freaking out too. Apparently, Danielle had continued to message him after the brief conversation and eventually sent him a long post, letting him know that there are some things she wants to get out in the open, wants to deeply apologize for the way she treated him towards the end of their relationship, and wants to do all of this in person with him. Why? Why does she want to do that in person? He asked me my opinion on this, and I'm definitely concerned as to why after all this time, this is something that she feels she needs to do, and also why does it need to be in person? After discussing with a friend who had a similar thing happen to her and afterwards the ex left them alone, I ultimately agreed, hoping that the same scenario would play out with us. Boy, was I wrong. Now, I do understand some people can have this feeling where let's say they go for a life change and they feel the need to contact, people that they may have hurt in the past, even teachers that they maybe look up to now or thank them for getting them to where they are today. But after 8 years, I think it's fair to be a little bit concerned as to why they decided to reach out, and why they now need to get stuff off their chest. And again, it doesn't really need to be in person. If they have something to say, put it in an email, write a letter, get it sent, and then it's off your chest and everybody's happy. Liam and Danielle decide to meet at a coffee shop in town, about halfway between where we live and where she and her husband live. For Liam, it was about an hour drive. This meeting took place this past Saturday. At first, I asked to come with and just sit in the car while they talked, since I anticipated it being a short but awkward conversation where she could express what she needed to, and then he could leave and we could go and do something afterwards. I would totally be there. In the car, outside, binoculars at the ready, just making sure that both of them know it doesn't need to be a long, extended thing. Get in, hear what needs to be said, say what needs to be said, and then get out. Liam convinced me I would end up being bored and he would feel bad leaving me alone for this time, so it was better for me to just stay back. He didn't think it would be very long, maybe an hour or so, and he would be home before I knew it. I ended up agreeing and he left early in the morning so he could meet her around 10. After letting me know once he got there and that he would keep me posted on when he would be heading back, I waited. After about an hour, I texted asking how it was going, and he said it was fine and that he was just listening to what she had to say. Another hour goes by and I start feeling a bit concerned, as I would have thought they would have been done by now. Another hour goes by and I'm full on irritated. I text him saying it's been 3 hours and ask when I should expect him back. He lets me know that they're catching up and he would let me know. Another hour goes by, 4 hours in total, and I am mad. What was supposed to be a short apology conversation was turning into a full-day thing. Finally, he lets me know he's heading home after 4.5 hours of them talking. I needed answers. I cannot imagine how frustrating that would be to be sitting at home, because I'm sure you had nothing else on your mind. It's not like you could prepare dinner, clean the house, or do anything else, because all I would be doing is looking at my phone, refresh, waiting for some sort of communication to come through from my husband. 4.5 hours. I don't think they would want to come home after that. When he finally got home, I asked what happened. He lets me know that Danielle did apologize for the way that she treated him during their relationship. After that, they began catching up on each other's lives, since it had been nearly 8 years since they last talked. It was a good, casual conversation, and then she started breaking down crying. According to Liam, Danielle is at her wit's end in her marriage and is considering divorcing her husband. She told Liam that her husband hasn't been the man she thought he would be, and that they have lost all passion in their marriage, that it got harder after she had their baby and doesn't know what to do, since she doesn't really like the idea of starting over and navigating as a single mum. Well, firstly, this is a very strange thing to be telling a person you haven't seen in 8 years. Anyway, basically, she was confiding in him about all of the issues in her life, and he sat and listened and talked with her. Liam said she really just needed somebody to listen to that wasn't involved in their circle. He felt bad for her and just wants to make sure that she's okay. He then asked me how I would feel if they continued to be casual acquaintances. I told him I could maybe get to a point where I would be comfortable with that, but would need to think about it. You're a much braver woman than I. I don't think I would be able to deal with that. Knowing that she's having marital problems and decided to kind of unload all of her problems on your husband, that doesn't sound like the outcome's going to be very good. And, she really should speak to her husband or speak to her family, friend, or a professional, in my opinion. He made it seem like that was the end of what they had discussed, and we continued the rest of our day as normal. At the end of the day, we got in bed and are watching TV when I noticed that he's getting quiet and distant. I ask him what's wrong and he starts tearing up, saying that there was more he needed to tell me about him and Danielle's conversation. I immediately got worried. In tears, he tells me that Danielle expressed to him that she still has feelings for him. Even though it's been years and they've both moved on, she still has parts of her heart set for him, that her husband isn't half the man that he is. In some ways, I wasn't shocked to hear that, especially since she wanted to meet with him after all this time. However, what he said next did shock me. He told me that after talking with her, he realised that he also still has some unresolved feelings for her. All this time, he thought she hated him after they broke up, when in reality, she was just struggling with her religious trauma in college and took things out on him when she shouldn't have. Everything was took out of context. I didn't know what to think. He was so hurt and torn apart after they broke up, and it took me months to build his trust and hope back in the beginning to allow him to see himself capable of love again. Now, after all these years later, he says he still has a part of his heart for her. In many ways, I understand because first love will always hold a spot, but I'm also a bit hurt that my husband, the man that I plan to spend the rest of my life with, still feels for his ex. I was not expecting your husband to be so upfront about it. It's also strange for him to say that he still has feelings for her after all this time. But what he's feeling might not be, unresolved love for Danielle. And probably the same for Danielle. It's been so much time. She's going through a hard time with her own life and is maybe just misinterpreting the feelings that she's got. And I would say that, having this person pop back into his life has probably unleashed some things, but I don't think that is kind of lost love for somebody, especially after 8 years. After learning that she still has feelings for him, I told him I wasn't liking the idea of them still talking, that she could eventually start interpreting his kindness to her wrongly and see some sort of potential between them. That really she should be discussing her marital issues with her own husband and not him. He insists that she would never come between us, and that Danielle herself has even expressed that she respected the idea of marriage wholeheartedly, and the last thing that she would want to do is harm ours. He wants to be there for her because it seems like she doesn't really have anybody else to talk to about this. Firstly, Danielle is already coming between you guys. She's spoken to your husband and expressed that she still has feelings for him, and she thinks that she, in doing so, is respecting your marriage at the same time. I don't think so. And I also don't like the fact that he still wants to communicate with her. That feels like a bloody gut punch. Last night, he was showing me TikToks on his phone when a text notification from Danielle popped up. I questioned him about it, and he shrugged it off as nothing. Today, I asked if she was still texting him, and he said she was, but he was trying to slowly cut her off. I expressed again how I don't think it's best for him to be talking to her, and how she really should be going to a friend or a family member to talk about her issues. I noticed he was still texting her throughout the evening tonight too. I will reserve my judgment. But should I be concerned about all of this? I don't want to come across as a wife who controls who her husband can or cannot talk to. I do trust my husband, but I don't really know Danielle. He insists that she is true to her word and would never try anything, but how can I know for sure? My best friends think I should tell him to block her. I don't think he will because he feels bad for her, but I don't want her to continue to reach out to him for validation and that eventually leading to her feelings towards him growing more. What do I do? Please help. Well, I think your friends are completely right, and it is absolutely fair for you to ask him to stop communicating with her. To be honest, I think that from what you said here, the conversation has already gone too long, and he's still communicating with her in evenings when you're together. I think that is completely out of line. And I've been really upset the fact that he was still communicating with her. There's no reason to. And he doesn't owe her anything. Okay, so we have an update the next day. I want to thank everybody who saw the original post and left a comment or sent me a message. Although they may have been difficult for me to read, it was something I ultimately needed to do. Anyway, here's the update. Liam, 27, husband, has been at work all day, so I wasn't able to talk to him much until he got home. I sat him down again and let him know that I needed to talk about him and his communication with Danielle. I told him that I wasn't happy and that I needed to know if he was still talking to Danielle. He told me he was, but that he was finally going to end things with her. For those of you, if not all of you, that suggested Danielle reached out to him because she wanted him for herself, you were correct. Liam called her today and she straight up asked him how happy he was with me, and that if for even a second there were issues and wanted out, that we could run away together. She wants to divorce her husband and be with him. I believe this admittance finally broke Liam's rose-coloured glasses on the situation and opened him up to seeing what she really was doing, trying to manipulate her way back to him and home wreck our marriage. He finally told her enough is enough and that he cannot talk to her anymore. He did feel sorry for everything going on with her and her own marriage, but for the sake of his own marriage and his love for me, that he needs to stop being in touch with her. He realized that those unresolved feelings that he started to have with her after meeting with her this past Saturday were more likely feelings of nostalgia for the times they spent together and the times that they were happy. The way she spoke about him and his character made him feel good and gave him that ego boost, but after hearing her true intentions, he was able to remember the way that she was before and why she broke up with him in the first place. I told him I wanted him to block her. I wanted no contact at all with her, and he agreed. So he deleted all of their messages, blocked her number, blocked her on all the social media right in front of me. There will be no more communication between them going forward. Again, thank you all so much for the help realizing what was happening and what needed to be done. I really appreciate it. Look, well, I'm really happy to hear that your husband at least seems to have come to terms with what was actually going on and has stopped communicating with her. I would just maybe make sure to keep checking up on that and make sure that she hasn't tried to enter his life another way and that he hasn't been guilt-tripped into communicating with her any further. But it's good to see that, you guys seem to have a really good line of communication, so that's great. One of the top comments said, OP, that's great, but trust me when I say you have to inspect what you expect. Don't just blindly take his word for it. He could probably tell you were done if he didn't agree, so he took steps. All of those could be undone just as fast. Give it a day, maybe 2, and then without fanfare, ask him for his phone. Tell him you just want to see for your own mental health that she is still blocked and that there has been no communication because you don't believe she will go that easily. Don't let him say no or leave the room. Tell him to unlock it and let you see it. Check every single app he has on his phone that offers messaging, text, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, every single app. Look at recently deleted folders. Also, you still need to contact her husband and alert him. Don't tell your husband you're going to. Just do it. He deserves to know her marriage may be a wreck, but cheaters say that all the time. You would want him to call you. If she is that miserable, he needs to know. I think I agree with that in principle, but I don't like this idea of kind of trying to catch him in something. Like I said, it does seem like they have a really good line of communication already. And yes, while you do need to be a little bit savvy to what could happen, and the fact that, he enjoyed the ego boost and he liked listening to her talk, and he said that he had feelings come back for her. Yes, definitely do be a little bit worried, or just kind of do the due diligence to make sure that he's not doing anything wrong or falling back into any other traps. However, trying to catch him out into something isn't good for you and it is not good for him. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't agree with telling the husband either. I think that the husband should know, and, Danielle should be upfront about the way that she's feeling. However, I don't think it's your place to do it, and especially don't do it behind your husband's back. Because you're not only going to cause issues, of course, with Danielle and her husband, but you're going to create a rift within your marriage that just doesn't need to be there. If anything, maybe you could speak to your husband about reaching out to them and saying something, but I would say remove her from your life, move on, and put it all behind you. Let's get on to the final story, which is titled, I am catfishing my husband. I, 44 female, discovered about a month ago that my husband, 45 male, is on a dating/hookup site. He used my phone to check his email a while ago and never logged out. I went to update some passwords in my profile and realized that I can see his search history. I saw that he is regularly on a hookup site and using the app messaging features. We have been married for 11 years. We have children, a house, and are very sexual with each other. So I was surprised. We have sex 2 to 3 times a week, sexting regularly, and spend a lot of time together. He's not started any new hobbies or changed anything about his life, so I don't think he's been physically cheating yet. I don't have any hard evidence other than seeing that he's visiting this site. I really wanted to see exactly what he was saying to people, so I created an ad and he responded to it. At this point, my plan is to message him just enough, gather evidence that he would be willing to set up a meeting, and then email all the evidence to myself and confront him, essentially telling him I know and that I was emailed all of the messages. Maybe it's just my reaction to the shock. Maybe this is diabolical on my part. I'm not sure. I haven't told anybody. I don't think it's diabolical at all. I think that probably in the moment I would do exactly the same thing if I found out that my partner was communicating with somebody else or potentially, having multiple chats with other people and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I would probably do the same thing. Is it the best idea? Probably not, but I don't think it's irrational. Uh, However, I think that I would probably stop myself once, let's say, they responded to me because I know that there's no going back from that point. If I start to see parts of him that I'd never seen before, there would be no going back at all. Anyway, let's see. It doesn't look like she's officially updated it yet, but she has commented and responded to other comments on the post. One of the comments saying, him being on the site and talking to other women, even without following through physically, is still cheating. He's already broken trust in your marriage. And the original poster has said, I agree. The minute that I saw he was doing this, my heart broke. At first, I tried to rationalize it that maybe he's just curious and wants to read the post, which wouldn't have really bothered me if he had told me he was doing it. Then I realized he was using the app messaging feature. I even watched a little bit of the usage to see if maybe he had left his phone logged in somewhere else, but that's not the case. And somebody said, if your trust is broken enough that you feel like you need to go through this, then your marriage is essentially over at this point. I understand why getting evidence is probably necessary. It sounds like you have assets, you have children. And so if you're going to go down the divorce proceedings, it might be necessary to have something in place. But if you just want to move on and move forward or even reconcile with your husband, the best thing to do is speak to a professional, whether it be a lawyer or, have counseling together. But I understand why it is you're doing this. Call it morbid curiosity, but don't harm yourself or hurt yourself more in doing this. Because again, I would not like to know what's going through his head, to see what he's messaging other people, knowing that it's not me. It makes my skin crawl. She's commented again. He's responded to the ad twice now, and in response to me sharing a photo, he has shared a real photo of his face and some underwear photos. I'm going to see how far he's willing to take it pretty quickly. I asked if he was single and if he was willing to meet up, and I'm going to see if he responds. At that point, I'm going to shut it down and then I will confront him. Dragging this out is just going to hurt me further and delay the inevitable, absolutely. If he's not willing to be honest about what he's doing, then I will absolutely tell him that I've seen the message and I'm horrified. I completely get that. I see, a lot of the comments here are saying, don't stop, keep catfishing, take it as far as you can. But again, I don't know if that's the best idea. It does seem like you think that if you were to bring it up to him, he might try and manipulate you or gaslight you into thinking that what he's doing is absolutely okay. And so maybe this might make you feel stronger about leaving him. But if not, shut it down and talk to him about it and see where it goes from. Well, those stories were very different to what we normally cover, but interesting read nonetheless. I'd love to see how many people rally behind the original posters and give them so much support and give them the answer that they know is true and the answer they probably want to hear, but they just can't tell themselves. Yeah, I think it's a very helpful tool. And the next time I have something to ask, I will be going directly to Reddit. So thank you. And thanks for watching. Again, if you have any stories of your own that you want to share, there are instructions in the description below. So please follow that and let us know what you thought in the comments. It would be great to see what you think. And thanks again. See you next time. Bye.